Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining our nightly news program live from Algiers. I'm your host, Karim Zachary, with the latest updates from around the world in tonight's top stories. Global climate crisis intensifies and record-breaking temperatures and devastating flooding grip nations worldwide. Also coming up, Algerian energy giant Sonatrach CEO demands gas supply boost to Europe and calls for EU commitment to long-term risk sharing and stable prices. Also ahead, Lithuania prepares for historic moment, hosting high-profile NATO summit with President Biden and global leaders. And Iranian Revolutionary Guards commander accuses U.S. Navy of defending fuel smuggling in the Gulf, alleging interference in ship interception. Hello again and welcome to the details. First off in our news, in a phone call, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune spoke with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Monday. They discussed important matters concerning both countries and agreed to meet in the future. The two leaders also talked about shared regional and international issues. Record-breaking temperatures are hitting countries worldwide, reaching levels not seen in over a century. Simultaneously, some nations are grappling with intense foods and abnormal weather patterns. That was intense floods. Islam Said reports.
Extreme temperatures are sweeping across the globe, causing significant climate challenges. North Africa faces severe heat waves at unprecedented levels that might be the highest ever in more than a century, while South Africa is experiencing rare snowfall.
It's not normal, but it's very cold. I remember our first snow was on 2012, so it's a nice experience.
Basta.
Elsewhere, Europe is battling scorching temperature in cities like Rome and Madrid, prompting concerns about the health impacts of global warming.
We were rowing there, and we tried to shade as much as we could. We pour water over us. The cup, the sunglasses, everything.
China, for its part, issued red alerts for extreme heat, while northern India is facing devastating floods and landslides. The torrential rain there has killed at least 22 people.
Around 41,000 people have been identified. Relief camps have been prepared for them. If needed, they will be moved from these camps and taken to rehabilitation camps.
Similarly, torrential downpours pounded the U.S. northeast, threatening catastrophic flooding across the region.
Right now, we are in the midst of an extraordinary weather event that has just devastated communities throughout the Hudson Valley. I'm here in Highland Falls, but this is just representative of what we've seen, the devastation we've seen in Rockland and Putnam and other communities.
On top of all that, Antarctic sea ice levels reached record lows with 17% below average. Experts say this coincides with exceptionally high global sea surface temperatures.
There really is completely unprecedented, this kind of reduction in sea ice that we've seen around the Antarctic. The Antarctic region is normally thought of being relatively stable. It's much colder than the Arctic. We're used to seeing, these big reductions in sea ice in the Arctic, but not in the Antarctic.
These alarming effects of climate change have become increasingly apparent in recent years, with developing countries being particularly vulnerable.
Algeria experienced a historic surge in electricity consumption on Sunday amidst a scorching heat wave that has engulfed the nation for 2 days. The Algerian Sonelgas Group disclosed that electricity demand peaked at 17,508 megawatts at 3 p.m. local time, marking an unprecedented record in the country's history. And speaking of Sonatrach, Algerian Sonatrach CEO Toufiq Hakar emphasized that increased gas supplies to European countries are a prerequisite for investment in Algeria. Speaking at a press conference, Mr. Hakar urged the European Union to provide a clear vision that ensures long-term risk sharing and a stable price for Algeria's gas exports. Here's Zahra Farjani with more.
Algeria suggests trading gas for investments to boost energy market. Sonatrach seeks more gas exports to Europe and European capital for upstream activities to balance production and risk sharing.
European countries needing Algerian gas should invest in developing gas capabilities in Algeria. It's illogical for Sonatrach to shoulder all the expenses and risks. Gas development demands significant investment, so we urge Europeans to join us. If you want gas, invest.
In an unstable energy market, investments become vital for sustainability. Embracing this principle, Italy's Eni forms a successful partnership with Sonatrach, hailed as a triumph of collaboration.
Je donne un exemple, une compagnie comme Eni italienne.
I give example of companies such as the Italian company Eni have taken risks by investing in Algeria. Eni is in the process of purchasing shares from local partners, demonstrating their commitment. If a country desires gas ownership, it must take a similar risk by investing in the development of Algerian resources.
Partnership contracts shape cooperation. Hence, Sonatrach urges transparent, consistent vision in commercial transactions.
Notre marché traditionnel européen, il est incertain.
Expanding gas exports to Europe faces a short-term demand obstacle, lasting 1 to 2 years, which is unsuitable and risky for us. We require a mid-range perspective regardless of price levels. Our aim is a clear and stable price outlook.
Algeria's approach, supported by Sonatrach's strong gas exports and revenue surge of $21 billion in 5 months, shows progress with 8 new hydrocarbon explorations.
In the same context, Mr. Hakar refuted claims of receiving a European request to limit gas export prices from Algeria. He disclosed that within a year, 11 sales contracts with partners were reviewed. Let's listen.
والكليون أوروبيان اللي يتعاملوا معهم ولا واحد دولة طالبتنا بتسقيف الإسعار.
None of our European clients have requested price increases. Our prices were already lower compared to those charged by the United States and other gas exporting nations to Europe. The process of reviewing prices is nearing completion. With approximately 11 contracts with Sonatrach, we have successfully reviewed 9 announced contracts, and only 1 or 2 contracts remain to be finalized. All contracts have undergone price revisions.
Regarding Algeria's exports to Spain, Mr. Hakar assured that Sonatrach is committed to fulfilling its contractual obligations, acknowledging the limitations of the Medgas pipeline. He also disclosed ongoing negotiations with 2 American companies, ExxonMobil and Chevron, for their potential entry into the Algerian market.
تربطنا مع مؤسسات إسبانية خاصة الناتورجية عقود.
We have contracts with Spanish institutions, particularly Energy Corporation, for natural gas exports via the Medgas pipeline. We will export with the pipeline's capacity without exceeding it. We honor our Spanish contracts regardless of circumstances, including contracted quantities.
المفاوضات مع الشركاء خاصة في شركتين أمريكيتين.
We're negotiating with partners including 2 American companies interested in investing in the well-known areas of Algeria to facilitate their investment. We've provided them with data on regions like Ahnan, Berkine and Elizi. These basins in Algeria hold significant appeal for investors, particularly American companies with specialized technologies for developing challenging areas.
Sonatrach CEO Toufiq Hakar announced significant advancements in oil exploration across various regions in Libya. He further revealed plans for an upcoming visit to the neighboring country for discussions on this matter in the coming days.
We also made gas and oil explorations in Libya, although the circumstances did not allow us to return there. We're in constant contact with the Libyan authorities. Perhaps we will have a visit very soon during this month for the return of Sonatrach there.
The Spanish judiciary has temporarily halted the investigation into the Pegasus case until further information surfaces. Supreme Court Judge Jose Luis Calama cited a lack of cooperation from the entity behind the spyware program, which penetrated the phones of Spanish officials, including Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and Defense Minister Margarita Robles 2 years ago. Calama expressed frustration with the company's refusal to respond to Spanish judicial inquiries, leading the investigation to a standstill. In other topical news, violent clashes persist in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, as warring factions engage in heavy artillery and airstrikes. In a bid to reach a final resolution for the Sudanese conflict, an IGAD meeting was convened in Ethiopia on Monday. However, the Sudanese army boycotted the gathering, accusing Kenya of biased decisions that favored the Rapid Support Forces and lacked impartiality. Usama Yadi with more.
Deadly strikes and violent clashes continue to plague Sudan's capital, Khartoum, and its surrounding areas. Intercommunal violence stemming from the conflict has worsened the security situation in Darfur, as reports indicate frequent airstrikes, explosions, and heavy gunfire, with Khartoum International Airport being a notable target.
Sudan's airspace will remain closed until July 31st, with the exception of humanitarian aid and evacuation flights with permission from authorities.
International efforts to mediate the crisis are underway, with Ethiopia hosting the Intergovernmental Authority on Development in Addis Ababa. However, the Sudanese army has chosen to boycott the meeting, accusing Kenya of supporting the rebellious Rapid Support Forces.
We are boycotting the meeting because we do not believe that Kenya is impartial in its mediation efforts. Kenya has been supporting the rebels in Sudan, and we believe that this is preventing us from reaching a peaceful resolution to the conflict.
The Eastern African bloc has called for a regional summit to discuss the deployment of troops in Sudan, with the aim of protecting civilians after enduring nearly 3 months of violence between the conflicting parties. In response, IGAD, in collaboration with the African Union, has announced an immediate civilian engagement process to promote peace, emphasizing that military intervention should not be the preferred means for resolving the conflict.
In another matter, a Palestinian identified as 33-year-old Bilal Ibrahim Hosni Kada was fatally shot by Zionist occupation forces in northwest Ramallah on Monday. According to Al-Quds news agency, Kada was attempting to throw an explosive device at Zionist soldiers stationed at a checkpoint near the southern entrance of Deir Nidam village in Ramallah. The UN Security Council is set to pass a resolution on Yemen on Monday, extending the United Nations mission to support the Hudaydah Agreement. The resolution, based on a British proposal, aims to extend the mission's term by 1 year. This extension will provide ample time for the mission to enhance its presence and tackle critical issues, particularly the removal of anti-human mines. The current mission's term is set to expire on July 14th. Lithuania is gearing up to host its most prominent international event since joining NATO in 2004. The summit, commencing on Tuesday, will feature US President Joe Biden and other NATO leaders, raising expectations for a potentially historic occasion. The details with Sofian Kenturi.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg discussed Sweden's NATO membership with Turkey and Sweden's leaders in Vilnius, aiming to overcome the current deadlock. Despite Turkey's reservations, Stoltenberg expressed optimism about Sweden's potential inclusion in the alliance.
And it's still possible to have a positive decision on Swedish membership here in Vilnius. We don't have any certainty, we don't have any guarantees, but of course now we have the momentum of the summit with the leaders here, and we will use that momentum to ensure as much progress as possible.
Turkish President Erdogan suggested that the European Union should pave a way for Ankara's accession before Turkey's parliament approves Sweden's NATO bid.
50 yılı aşkın zamandır
I would also make this call in Vilnius. Come and open the way for Turkey's membership in the European Union. When you pave the way for Turkey, we'll pave the way for Sweden as we did for Finland.
Erdogan also highlighted the provision of military aid to Ukraine, warning that supplying advanced weapons and equipment to Kiev could complicate conflict resolution.
We support the NATO's open door policy, and in the Russia-Ukraine war will facilitate Kiev's accession for NATO, but the expansion and the purchase of F-16s from America are two separate matters.
Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that Russia views Ukraine's potential NATO membership as a threat, leading to a strong and clear reaction from Moscow.
The position of the Russian Federation is absolutely understandable and consistent that Ukraine's membership in NATO will have very, very negative consequences for the entire security architecture, the already dilapidated security architecture in Europe.
These statements underscore the significance of the summit, with Erdogan connecting Turkey's EU aspirations to Sweden's NATO aspirations, and Russia cautioning against Ukraine's alliance membership.
Hopes for an extension of the expiring Black Sea grain deal rely on anticipated negotiations between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Erdogan expressed his urgency on Saturday, urging Russia to extend the deal by 3 months and announcing Putin's planned gathering in August. However, the Kremlin clarified that no phone call was scheduled and there was uncertainty regarding a gathering between the two leaders.
There was a package that was proposed by the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. All the conditions on both sides of this package are well known. The Ukrainian part of this package has been fulfilled, and now it is clear to everybody that the Ukrainian part of this package has turned into a commercial project.
The Kremlin confirmed on Monday that President Vladimir Putin met with Yevgeny Prigozhin, the founder of the Wagner Group, and his commanders to address the armed mutiny they had planned against the army's top leadership. The meeting, lasting 3 hours, included 35 attendees at Putin's invitation. This mutiny is seen as the most significant challenge to Putin since he assumed power in late 1999.
The president gave his assessment of the Wagner private military company in the frontline battles. He also gave his assessment of the events of June 24. The president listened to the explanations given by the commanders and offered them options for further employment and further military service.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning warned on Monday that the United States' transfer of cluster bombs to Ukraine may result in humanitarian repercussions. Emphasizing China's stance, Mao reiterated the belief that dialogue and negotiation are the sole viable solutions to the Ukraine crisis. She urged all parties involved to refrain from exacerbating tensions and escalating the situation.
The irresponsible provision of cluster munitions is highly likely to cause humanitarian issues. Humanitarian concerns and legitimate military and security needs should be addressed in a balanced manner, and the transfer of cluster munitions should be treated with prudence and restraint.
In other news, an Iranian Revolutionary Guards commander accused the U.S. Navy on Monday of defending fuel smuggling in the Gulf. IRGC commander Ramazan Zirahi claimed that U.S. aircraft intervened when Iranian forces intercepted a ship last week. Video footage captured an A-10 warplane near the tanker while an IRGC boat was in close proximity.
Our fighters firmly told them that this is a criminal vessel and is collecting smuggled fuel and that the U.S. forces should not interfere and should leave the area. We are warning the American forces to avoid unprofessional and emotional behavior because we are sensitive of the security of the Persian Gulf, and we will respond firmly and strictly to those who want to endanger the safety of the Persian Gulf.
In Ethiopia's war-torn Tigray region, a 10-year-old child fights for breath at either hospital as the acute food shortage continues to devastate the area already plagued by conflict and drought. As per the World Food Programme, approximately 1/5 of Tigray's 6 million inhabitants faced severe food insecurity in February. This alarming situation unfolds in a nation where 20 million individuals out of a total of population of 120 million rely on external assistance for sustenance.
I understand that the number of children who are sick due to the food shortage is now higher. But the issue is that we could not treat these children properly. Once we treat them and show them improvement, we will send them back home. However, they don't have anything to eat, and they will get sick and come back again. It is becoming a vicious circle. It is very frustrating for us and painful for the families.
Cuba has accused the U.S. government of bearing direct responsibility for the major protests that occurred 2 years ago, the largest since Fidel Castro's revolution in 1959. According to the newspaper, individuals were openly encouraged and financially supported by the United States to engage in illegal activities such as theft and assault. To some sports news, Algeria is dominating the medal standings at the 15th Arab Games, which it is hosting until July 15th. The Algerian athletes have excelled, securing a total of 119 medals, including 53 gold, 31 silver, and 35 bronze. They are currently leading the competition in terms of overall medal count. And finally, in our news, in Niger's northeastern region of Bilma, the centuries-old tradition of salt trade holds the potential to alleviate the country's ongoing economic crisis. However, the region has been plagued by security concerns as criminal gangs target the traders. Here's Salman Asib with more.
This magical Nigerian Sahara is known for its uranium and gold rush, but in Bilma, in the northeast of Niger, salt here is seen as a wealth for locals, valued for its quality. These salt pans of Kalala were once an essential stage of the caravan routes, and also a stop for traders with their swaying lines of camels. Now, the flourishing trade seeks to survive in a troubled regional economy amid high prices and lack of good customers, as Omar Kosso, a salt worker in Bilma, sees it.
This is a black market. We don't have good customers. We have some traders. They come, they pay any price. There is no fixed price. Every year the chief sets the price, but the villagers do not respect. Now the salt does not exceed 500 francs. The chief said to sell at 1,005 francs, but people are impatient and they break the price.
In Niger, salt digging is considered as a precious and thriving business that is carried on from generation to generation. However, this trade is done traditionally with hundreds of pits dug by hand and then filled with water to leach salt from the local rock. Few alternatives are offered for these traders who come from many regions, despite the insecurity due to bandits.
We come from Bilma. We carry salt and we are on our way to Agadez. We can drive 3 days, but on the road, we meet bandits who stop our trucks and they take our phones and money, and then they let us pass.
Despite the difficulties and security instability in the region, Bilma traders, if properly framed, can contribute to moving the pace of trade internally and externally, raising the country's economy.
With this, we reach the end of our nightly news program. For more latest updates, visit our social media platforms. Thank you for watching and join us again tomorrow for more news and insights. Good night.